Li Cang awakens as a god and gains the power to build his own world. At first, Li Cang thinks he's dead. There's nothing around him but an endless orange void, no ground, no sky, no direction. He tries to breathe and nothing happens. Only then does he realize the problem. There's no air. Desperate, he cries out to the space itself, begging for air. The void reacts. A violent current of wind surges upward, oxygen flooding his lungs as he gasps back to life. Li Cang freezes, not from pain, but from realization. Carefully, he tests it. He wills the wind to stop. It halts instantly. In that moment, Li Cang understands something crucial. This place doesn't resist him. It doesn't judge him. It doesn't care how weak he is. Here, in this newborn world, his will is absolute. He raises his arm, steadies his breath, and gives his first deliberate command as a god. Chaos. Disperse. The void splits apart, and for Li Cang, this fragile, formless world becomes the perfect starting point. Before all of this, Li Cang was just an ordinary mortal. In this world, gods draw power from faith, cultivators serve them, and mortals live at the very bottom. Demons invade from beyond the world, and only gods can stand against them. Li Cang never amounted to anything. An orphan, crushed by debt, and exploited by loan sharks, he survived through study alone, clinging to one last chance, the Divine Path entrance exam. Then, during a demon attack on Changming City, two gods descended to fight. Their power ripped through the city, collapsing buildings and annihilating an entire neighborhood without warning. Li Cang was caught in the blast. Lying on death's door, he wished for a chance at life. Instead of dying, he awakened, back at the center of his newborn world. Surrounded by drifting light and scattered stars, Li Cang floats in silence, drenched in radiant energy. Given its current state, this world doesn't need complexity. It only needs direction. All Li Cang intended was a simple experiment. But as he looks down at his own hands, stunned and grinning, he understands something dangerous. It worked. Li Cang glances around the swirling chaos, reminded of the old creation myths he once heard, stories of ancient figures splitting heaven and earth apart. The thought makes him smirk. If they could do it, why not him? He raises his hand and declares, "Heaven." The void roars in response. Light bends violently as clouds twist into a massive vortex overhead. Li Cang's eyes widen. It worked, but something's off. The clouds stretch into jagged, unnatural shapes. Before he can question it, a bolt of lightning the size of a mountain crashes down. He flinches, shouting in shock as the pillar of light obliterates everything below. Awe and fear mix on his face. If this is the sky, then the next step is obvious. Create the earth. The world rearranges itself instantly. Mountains surge upward. At the center, a molten crater forms, glowing like a beating heart. Li Cang nods, impressed. Looks peaceful enough. Then the ground convulses. The crater swells. Fire erupts. Once, twice, louder, hotter. Li Cang freezes for half a second before muttering that he really shouldn't have said anything. Lava comes rushing toward him like a tidal wave. He turns and runs, screaming that he doesn't want to die, and then everything goes white. When his vision clears, he realizes he's floating inside the molten sea, completely unharmed. A glowing barrier surrounds him. He coughs, stunned, admitting that apparently he has a shield, but the excitement doesn't last. Exhaustion crashes into him like a hammer. His limbs go numb. The light fades. He gasps awake. Cold air fills his lungs as dust rains down around the ruined crater left by the demon's attack. Hovering calmly in front of him is a glowing sphere, the same one he saw inside that world. The moment he touches it, knowledge floods his mind. This isn't just energy, it's his divine realm, a personal domain only true gods can possess, a place where his will is absolute. The orb suddenly shoots into his chest. He panics, then it pops back out like nothing happened. That alone tells him enough. Laughing breathlessly, Li Cang realizes he finally has something real, something powerful. Then reality hits. Every divine realm reflects its owner's title, and he has no idea what his is. Tomorrow is the Divine Path exam, but he has to attend a class first, and he still doesn't know what kind of god he's becoming. The next day, the teacher is writing across the blackboard, listing examples of divine paths, gods of martial arts, incense, belief. He explains that these paths are among the hardest to walk. Not only do they demand overwhelming strength, but they also require people to genuinely believe in you. Li Cang listens with half his attention. A martial arts god needs unmatched physical mastery. Gods of incense or belief have to build temples, gather followers, and nurture faith from scratch. Beside him, Gao Ming flexes his arm like he's posing for a magazine cover and whispers if Li Cang thinks he has a shot at becoming a god of martial arts. Li Cang doesn't even look at him. He tells Gao Ming he should probably worry about beating Zhao Ying first. The air shifts. Zhao Ying definitely heard that. Her fist slams into the classroom wall. The impact cracks the plaster instantly, spiderwebs racing outward. She glares at them and demands to know if they're trying to start something. Both boys freeze. Gao Ming immediately backpedals, insisting he didn't say anything. Li Cang sinks lower in his seat. The teacher clears his throat and tells all three of them to maintain discipline so class can continue. Then he changes the topic. He starts talking about divine paths tied to nature, gods of lightning, rain, fire, elemental gods. Their power comes from affinity, not effort. Talent, compatibility, and absolute control are required. One mistake, and the god destroys themselves. Li Cang listens quietly. Elemental gods are terrifyingly powerful. Almost none succeed. He immediately crosses that path off in his head. He can't control fire, or water, or anything like that. The teacher moves on again, mentioning divine paths that seem easier on paper. A goddess of fertility can grow stronger simply by producing offspring. A god of wealth can ascend after amassing enough riches. Then the teacher's tone shifts. He writes two new words on the board: divine realm. This, he says, is the ultimate pursuit of every god. A divine realm is an extension of a god's existence. All life inside it is protected by its owner. More importantly, it feeds energy back to the god endlessly, enhancing their strength and cultivation. Li Cang frowns. He whispers to himself that he's just an ordinary person. How could he possibly have something like that? He raises his hand and asks if a divine realm is essentially a personal cultivation ground. The teacher nods. Once a realm opens, a god can continuously absorb energy from it. He gives an example: a neighboring country's goddess of fertility who became absurdly powerful after accidentally opening her divine realm. Fertility was once considered a weak position, but life inside her realm flourished, feeding her energy nonstop. Eventually, she stood shoulder to shoulder with gods of war. That's the power of a divine realm. Li Cang's expression tightens, because when he obtained his realm, he didn't feel anything, not a single change. His mind drifts to the vision of his own realm. Cracked land, broken skies, nothing but ruin. The teacher's words echo in his head. Life inside the realm provides energy. Life gives back. His eyes widen. There's no life in his realm, not a single living thing. His heart starts pounding as excitement surges through him. If the problem is life, then the solution is obvious. If he restores his realm, if he creates life inside it, then he can finally use it for cultivation. The teacher announces that class is over. Tomorrow is the entrance exam. He wishes everyone luck. Li Cang clenches his fist. He's running out of time. He needs to go home and figure out his divine realm properly, because now he finally knows what he's missing. Li Cang returns from school and stops the moment he reaches his door. It's open. His brow tightens. He's sure he closed it this morning. He pushes it open slowly, peeking inside, muttering that someone must have broken in. Determined to catch the bold thief, he steps into the dim room and freezes. A small girl is sitting quietly at his table. He blurts out her name, Sumoxin. She looks up, startled, and explains that she knocked earlier, but no one answered. She thought he'd gone out, so she let herself in. Li Cang sighs and asks gently if her parents fought again. She lowers her head and nods. He murmurs that ordinary people all have their own burdens, then tells her she can stay here. A faint rumble comes from her stomach. She stiffens in embarrassment. Li Cang tilts his head and asks if she's hungry. When she doesn't answer, he rummages through the kitchen. Pots clatter uselessly until he lifts a single cup of noodles like it's treasure. He announces that, by coincidence, this is the last one. She hesitates, asking if that's really his only bowl. What about him? Li Cang laughs it off, rubbing his head. He says he already ate outside and the food there tasted better anyway. The lie barely leaves his mouth before his stomach betrays him with a quiet growl. She pushes the noodles back toward him, insisting he should eat. That tomorrow is the divine path exam, after all. He thinks to himself that this has been his whole life, even giving up something as small as instant noodles for someone else. He rests a hand on her head and tells her to trust him. He promises he'll definitely get into the divine university. Once he gets the acceptance letter and the scholarship, he'll treat her to a proper meal. She looks up softly. Really? He gives her a thumbs up, forcing confidence into his voice. Of course. For the first time that night, Sumoxin smiles. Warm, relieved, trusting. She tells him she believes him. Night settles over the room. Li Cang sits cross-legged on his bed and steadies his breath. He raises his hand and calls for his divine realm. A golden sphere rises from his palm, pulsing like a miniature sun. He studies the fiery world inside it and admits the environment is far too harsh. Remembering the book's teachings, he mutters that even a god can't create life in a vacuum. Life needs conditions first. He decides water has to come next. He commands rain. Inside the realm, lava rages. The drizzle barely cools anything. Frustration creeps in. He's running out of time. He needs a faster way. His eyes drift to a plastic water bottle on the counter. An idea hits him. He grabs it, lifts it like a discovered treasure, and wonders if things from the outside world can enter his realm. He tips the bottle. A single drop falls. Inside the realm, that drop descends like a comet. Blue light explodes outward, swelling into a massive flood. Shockwaves tear through the volcanic land as molten rock is blasted aside. Li Cang stares in disbelief. How did one tiny drop nearly destroy his entire realm? Cracks spread across the sky. Outside, the orb trembles violently. Fractures crawl along its surface. Li Cang feels it too. If the realm collapses, he loses everything, including his chance tomorrow. He refuses to accept that. He shouts that water is still just water. He thrusts his hands forward and calls for a mountain. Inside the realm, a colossal pillar of stone erupts upward, slamming into the heart of the flood. Cracks race through it. His teeth grit as he keeps pushing, lifting, forcing it higher. With one final surge, the water bursts apart and settles. Silence follows. Mist clears. Rivers spill gently through carved valleys. Green spreads across the land. A rainbow shimmers beneath the sky. Li Cang exhales, then he sees it. A tiny sprout pushes through the soil. Leaves unfurl. Vines twist together, rising higher and higher until a massive tree blooms, its crown spreading like a second sky. Outside, Li Cang slumps back as the orb's color shifts from violent red to deep galaxy blue. Warm energy floods into him. His cuts seal. His exhaustion fades. For the first time, his divine realm answers him back. The next day, morning light spills through the window as Li Cang blinks awake. He sits up, still tangled in sleep's fog, and then, boom, the memories hit him like shards of a meteor shower. The tree, the life that bloomed inside his divine realm. He stretches an arm and freezes. Something's different. His hand feels steadier, stronger. He stares for a second, then jumps up and rushes to the mirror. He almost chokes. His body is leaner, sharper, defined in a way it never was before. Strength radiates off him unmistakably. He mutters that his entire physique has been enhanced by a lot. His thoughts spiral. If creating life already gave him this much, then entering Divine University suddenly feels easy. He imagines reaching the top of life itself. His phone buzzes. 8:15. Panic slams into him. The exam starts at 9. He scrambles to get dressed, then stops short. Su Mixin is still asleep on the floor, and surrounding her body is a faint black halo. Li Cang stares, unsettled. He blinks, wondering if he's imagining things, but something about her feels wrong. She stirs, waking softly. He apologizes, says he needs to leave for the exam, and bolts out the door. The moment he runs, he feels it. Energy surges through his body. His strides lengthen effortlessly. The street blurs as he accelerates, air rippling behind him. A passing driver gapes, muttering that no one should be able to run that fast. By the time Li Cang reaches the school gate, students are still walking in. He skids to a stop, kicking up a cloud of dust. A hand shoots out of the smoke and grabs his collar. Liang Kun yanks him forward, furious, shouting that Li Cang almost suffocated him. Of course it had to be this guy. Liang Kun puffs his chest, declaring he's the only cultivator in the school and demanding an apology. Li Cang calmly brushes his hand away and says there's no need to make a scene. That only makes Liang Kun angrier. Li Cang dusts off his sleeve and tells him not to act like a bully just because he's a cultivator, even questioning if he's really the only one here. Liang Kun snarls, threatening to show him exactly what he can do. Before it escalates, voices ring out. The exam is about to start. Everyone needs to calm down. From the rooftop above, the old principal watches and sighs. Beside him, a woman smiles faintly. Adolescence, she says, but order still matters. The principal suggests she step in. She agrees. Below, a boot lifts gently from the ground. A warm breeze sweeps through the courtyard as she descends, silent and effortless. Students pause as the air grows lighter. Then, light erupts. A brilliant rainbow sphere blooms in the sky, her figure at its center. For a brief moment, the silhouette of a goddess manifests behind her, wings of light unfurling before collapsing back into her body. The courtyard falls silent. Students blink, rubbing their arms, suddenly feeling refreshed. Someone whispers that they feel stronger. Li Cang feels it too. Her light boosts spiritual power and washes away fatigue. She smiles and announces that today is the most important exam of their lives. The rainbow above them is her blessing. She wishes them higher scores than they expect. Cheers explode across the field. Then the teacher with the megaphone steps forward, ordering all students to gather on the playground immediately. As the light fades and she returns to the rooftop, Chuniro pauses, thoughtful. She didn't expect that simply blessing students would return faith to her. A familiar voice sounds behind her. Yu Qianxian steps forward with a grin, flowers blooming at her feet, joking that if faith were this easy to gather, she would have shown off too. The instructor steps onto the platform and tells everyone to stop messing around. The exam is starting. Behind Behind him, a massive screen lights up as he explains the structure. 3 tests: physical fitness, divinity, knowledge. Together they decide who can step onto the divine path. With that, the first test begins. Out on the field, students stretch and take their positions. Li Cang rolls his shoulders and exhales slowly. If he'd taken this exam before, he knows exactly how it would have gone. Barely passing, scraping by on luck. But now, he feels different. The starting gun cracks. Li Cang explodes forward. The track shatters under his first step, dust bursting behind him as he surges ahead. The other students might as well be standing still. By the time they realize what's happening, he's already crossing the finish line. First place. And it doesn't stop there. Weightlifting. One arm. Effortless. High jump. He clears heights no one else even approaches. Every station ends the same way, with Li Cang standing alone at the top. Whispers spread fast. When did he get this strong? Was he hiding his power this whole time? Then comes the final physical test. The instructor gestures toward the machine and tells him to hit it with everything he has. It'll calculate a score automatically. Li Cang plants his feet. He tightens his core, draws power through his body, and strikes. The machine flashes violently. Numbers flicker, then freeze. 137, the highest score the school has recorded in years. The field erupts. Li Cang adjusts his shirt casually, already convinced. First place is his. No contest. Move, a girl's voice says flatly. He turns, then freezes. Zhao Ying, she steps forward calmly, her presence alone enough to make the crowd instinctively retreat. Students back away without even realizing it, leaving an empty circle around her. The instructor blinks, confused by the sudden sudden space. Zhao Ying stops in front of the machine and asks one question. Are you sure we're supposed to use our full strength? The instructor stares at her like she's joking. This is the Divine Path exam. Of course they should. She nods. And in the next instant, her aura sharpens. Power coils around her arm, violet energy spiraling tighter and tighter. She punches. The ground quakes, the machine detonates. Stone and metal erupt outward in a violent blast, forcing the instructor to shield his face as debris rains across the field. When the dust clears, the machine is gone. Not damaged, not cracked, gone. Zhao Ying stands quietly in the rubble, completely unfazed. Li Cang watches, hollow-eyed. First place was never his. After a long silence, the instructor clears his throat and announces that since the machine has been destroyed, they'll take its maximum possible score as Zhao Ying's official result. Champion of the strength test. The crowd explodes. Up in the stands, Yu Qianqian grins, openly saying she wants Zhao Ying under her banner. Chuniro sighs and tells her not to pressure the girl. Yu Qianqian waves it off, amused. The field is reorganized quickly. The instructor steps forward again and explains the next phase. The real gatekeeper. Divinity. Strength and knowledge matter, but divinity is fixed. Preset by nature. If you don't have it, nothing else matters. Li Cang clenches his fist. He has a divine realm. He'll be fine, right? Gao Ming pats him on the shoulder, forcing a shaky smile as his name is called. The instructor explains the test calmly. Pressure, cutting force. Endure as long as you can. Gao Ming nods, but every step he takes forward betrays the truth. He's terrified. Gao Ming steps into the testing chamber and darkness swallows him whole. He whispers that it's pitch black, trying to calm his breathing as his heartbeat thunders in his ears. Outside, the examiner's voice rings out, asking if he's ready. The test begins. Golden light erupts beneath Gao Ming's feet, patterns climbing up the walls like a cage, snapping shut. Then the pressure hits. Violent, invasive, clawing straight at his core. He grits his teeth and tries to endure. The force intensifies. His knees buckle. A cry tears from his throat as the pressure spikes again, crushing down until his posture collapses. His scream echoes outside the chamber. The instructor reacts instantly, aborting the test. The door is thrown open as a violent gust of wind blasts outward. Gao Ming stumbles out, barely conscious. He lifts his head weakly and asks one question. How many points? The screen flashes. 0. His face drains of color. Li Cang watches quietly as Gao Ming is helped away, the instructor's earlier words echoing in his mind. The fate of ordinary people is decided from birth. Up on the balcony, Yu Qianjian yawns, bored. She mutters that it's been over an hour without a single candidate showing divinity. Chuniro calmly reminds her that last year's final candidate only scored 8 points. Then Yu Qianqian grins. Oh, looks like it's the tomboy's turn. Zhao Ying enters the chamber. Golden light surges immediately, as if the machine recognizes her presence. The gauge needle crawls upward, hesitates, then stalls. Zhao Ying stands motionless, expression unreadable. Outside, the examiner frowns, asking if the test has even started. Suddenly, the machine convulses. Light explodes outward, and Zhao Ying staggers back with a cough as the test is forcibly terminated. The results flash 0. The examiner goes pale. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Even Zhao Ying has no divinity. Hope thins. Then Then another student enters. The screen lights up again. 17 points. Earth attribute. The field erupts. Li Cang steps forward, basking in cheers as students shout his name, calling him a chosen one. He stands taller with every compliment, his confidence swelling. From the bleachers, Li Cang watches in silence. Li Cang's gaze snaps toward him, sharp, competitive. He walks over with a grin, proudly flashing his score and asking what Li Cang thinks. His finger points straight at Li Cang as he asks, mockingly, "What about you?" Before Li Cang can respond, the examiner calls his name. Whispers follow him as he steps forward. Some recognize him from the earlier conflict. Others doubt him outright. Up above, Yu Qianqian snaps that he should hurry up and not waste her time. Chuniro sighs and tells her to behave. The chamber door closes behind Li Cang. Pressure slams into his body from all sides, driving him to one knee. His palm hits the floor as he groans, forcing himself upright. He knows, without his strengthened body, this would have broken him already. Outside, the monitor displays a familiar result: 0. A teacher scoffs, saying it's pointless. Chuniro calmly disagrees. She explains that ordinary people's divinity often lies dormant, buried deep. Under enough pressure, it can be forced awake. Inside, Li Cang is reaching his limit. The pressure keeps climbing. His divine realm stirs violently, hammering against his core, trying to force its way out to protect him. Terror spikes through him. Not now. Not here. He suppresses it with everything he has. Then the chamber screams. A massive pillar of energy erupts skyward, twisting the clouds above. Yu Qianqian freezes. Chuniro's eyes widen. The machine catastrophically fails. An explosion rips outward, hurling debris across the field and knocking students off their feet. When the dust settles, Li Cang kneels in the ruins, coughing hard. Someone lifts a shattered monitor from the wreckage. The screen flickers. 70. The field goes silent, then erupts. Students rush him, lifting him into the air, cheering his name. Li Cang laughs, stunned, as he's tossed skyward. Chuniro watches the number repeat. 70. She murmurs softly that he's already reached divinity protection, a stage beginners shouldn't touch. Beside her, Yu Qianqian smirks. She declares she'll take Zhao Ying anyway. Only 3 can be chosen. Chuniro closes her eyes, then opens them and says with absolute certainty, "That boy is mine." The written exam begins, and the room sinks into tense silence. Li Cang scans the questions calmly. Around him, panic spreads fast. A boy nearby lowers his head and whispers that he couldn't solve a single problem. Li Cang glances over, surprised. Is it really that hard for everyone else? He tightens his grip on the pen. To change his fate, he's never allowed himself to slack off. Not once. Even before awakening his divine realm, studying was the only thing he had. He exhales and focuses. When the proctor finally calls time, the room erupts in relief. Li Cang steps outside, feeling something unfamiliar. Confidence. The questions were straight from the books. If he scores well, a scholarship might actually be possible. Paying off debts. Keeping his promise to Sumoxin. The thought makes his expression soften. Before he can leave, his teacher calls him over. The man beams, saying Li Cang's divinity results alone will boost the school's enrollment this year. The school's name will finally carry weight again. With numbers like that, Li Cang will be fought over by universities. Li Cang jokes that if the praise continues, he'll start floating. The teacher laughs, then turns serious. He warns Li Cang to be careful. Recruiters this year are desperate, and desperation makes people dangerous. Elsewhere, Zhao Ying walks alone through a narrow alley, her mind still buzzing from the exam. Rose petals drift past her face. She stops. The air shifts. Red light spirals, sealing off the alley. A calm voice speaks, saying it seems her divine path has encountered obstacles. Zhao Ying tenses, demanding to know who's there. Petals gather, and Yu Qianqian steps forward, smiling lazily. She offers Zhao Ying a chance, become her divine attendant, and she could one day ascend into a goddess. Zhao Ying stares, stunned. Qianqian steps closer, saying this is her only chance, then freezes. Zhao Ying's hand is pressed flat against her own chest. Qianqian recoils, shouting what the hell she thinks she's doing. Zhao Ying exhales in relief and admits she was checking if Qianqian was an evil spirit. That sets her off. Qianqian explodes, yelling that no evil spirit could possibly be this beautiful. She snaps that she was being generous, and Zhao Ying is unbelievably rude. Zhao Ying nods politely and says if she's not an evil spirit, then she'll be going home. She turns around. Qianqian's eye twitches. Ignore me? Zhao Ying grabs her wrist, lifts her clean off the ground, and slams her into the pavement. She steps past her and mutters flatly that she's a weak goddess. Back in the city park, Li Cang sits alone on a bench, sunset staining the sky orange. Before the results are announced, he decides to understand his divine realm better. He closes his eyes and enters it. Inside, blazing sunlight pours down, and the lone tree at the center immediately begins to wither. The ground cracks, drying and splitting apart. It worked, but the realm can't withstand it. He exhales. He needs a better cultivation method. He opens his eyes and freezes. A figure stands in front of him. Ice shoots down his spine. He scrambles back, shouting that it's an evil spirit. Another shuffles into view. Then another. Then a dozen more ripple into existence like a silent tide. He panics, yelling if this is some kind of invasion. People nearby stare, whispering, telling each other to stay away from the lunatic. Li Cang snaps his head around. They can't see them. Evil spirits. Ghosts born from resentment. Energy beings ordinary people can't perceive. Where faith gathers, resentment follows. Most are harmless, but cultivators are expected to deal with them. He steadies himself, backing away carefully. Then his chest burns. His divine realm trembles. Before he can react, light erupts outward. The spirits scream as they're dragged toward him, shredded and devoured by a vortex of merciless radiance. Li Cang staggers as he's yanked inward as well, stumbling back into the heart of his realm. The spirits inside are now gigantic. Each footstep lands like a meteor strike, splitting the soil, splintering the sky, shaking the bones of the dimension itself. A single stride snaps a ravine open. Another cracks the horizon. Another sends the lone tree exploding into dust. Li Cang watches in horror. Every step they take is erasing the rules, rewriting the space, dismantling his divine architecture piece by piece. If this continues, his realm won't survive the collapse. And if the realm falls, so does he. Li Cang straightens, forcing his breathing to slow. Since they entered his divine realm, he tells them calmly, he'll be the one setting the rules. Lightning coils around his arm as he warns them not to damage anything. The warning lasts exactly 1 second. Thunder explodes from his hand. The nearest evil spirit is torn apart instantly, its form ripping into drifting fragments of energy. Before the remnants can scatter, the dead tree at the center of the realm reacts. Its withered roots pulse with a dim flare and drink it all in. Li Cang freezes. The tree absorbed it, and then something else happens. The stolen energy doesn't stay stolen. It surges outward and turns on him instead. It floods straight into his body. Warmth detonates through his limbs. His veins burn gold. His chest locks, then expands as his divine aura ticks upward, sharper, denser, stronger than before. The realm didn't collapse from the loss. It rewarded the refinement. The dimension approves. He stares at his hands, stunned. 3 more spirits hover in the distance, motionless, not attacking, not fleeing, so they really aren't aggressive. He raises his arm again. Lightning rips through them. One by one, they fall, each death feeding the tree, each pulse sending strength back into him. When the light finally fades, Li Cang exhales slowly, eyes blown wide with disbelief. It worked. He looks across the vast, fractured world of his realm, understanding clicking into place like tumblers in a lock. Evil spirits can be refined here, devoured, converted, returned as divine gain, a shortcut to cultivation. Night deepens in the real world. Yu Qianqian winces, rubbing the back of her skull. Chuniro sighs and tells her flatly that she should be ashamed, getting pavement checked by a freshly graduated high school girl. Qianqian growls back that it was a surprise attack, and under normal circumstances she'd never lose. Ever. Period. Chun lets it slide, but the crease in her brow stays. If she hadn't been stalled by teachers earlier, she wouldn't have lost track of Li Cang. Qianqian waves it off. He should still be around. Probably. A public screen suddenly splits the street noise. Breaking news bleeds across it. A shaken anchor blurts that a massive thunderstorm has spawned near Changming Senior High School. A red-level lightning warning is live. Citizens are begged to take shelter. Now. Chun doesn't even get to finish thinking before Qianqian curses and points ahead. Something slices from the dark. A malformed evil spirit swipes past Chun's face, so close it steals her breath. Another slams from the side, forcing her to raise a divine guard by reflex. Qianqian snaps at her to chill. It's just an evil spirit, except it isn't just one. Dozens bleed in from every direction, scrambling, clipping through themselves, movements jagged, uncoordinated, terrified. Chun's stomach drops as the truth sharpens. These things aren't attacking, they're running from something buried deeper in the city. A cold stone sinks in her gut. She tells Qianqian they have to check it out. Something's seriously off. Elsewhere in the park, Li Cang leans against a tree, lungs punching for air. His body buzzes like a storm reactor left open. He wipes sweat off his chin, scanning the quiet. The spirits are gone. Every last one inhaled by the realm. No wonder normal people never see them. Evil spirits come in endless skins, beast forms, element forms, mangled silhouettes of resentment given shape. Tonight, he's processed them all. He mutters under his breath, wondering if eating that many nudged his divinity even a single percent. Then, a grinding sound bulldozes the silence. Li Cang goes rigid. The air thickens, syrup heavy. From the dark, a shape steps forward, its body burning a deep, violent red. The pressure alone kicks his breath into a chokehold. Li Cang looks up at it, a red, evil spirit. The sky above Li Cang twists as dark clouds coil inward. From the center of the park, the red figure steps forward, horned, towering, its body pulsing like magma barely contained. The pressure alone makes Li Cang's spine lock. This one feels different. Nothing like the spirits that drifted obediently into his realm earlier. He doesn't have time to process it. Red energy lashes out, whipping toward him like blades. The blow slams into the golden film around his body. His shield stops the evil spirit, but he doesn't stop the fall. Li Cang is launched into the ground, pain punching through his ribs. He coughs hard, recognizing the glow on his skin immediately. A passive protection skill, triggered by instinct. His thoughts race. Evil spirits weren't aggressive, they never attacked him. So why is this one trying to tear him apart? The red figure lunges again. Li Cang steadies his breath. Aggression is good. Aggression means energy. Energy means cultivation. He forces a grin and summons his divine realm. The glowing orb forms in front of him, trembling, buzzing with hungry anticipation. He declares it won't take long before this thing is devoured too. He's wrong. Agony erupts in his abdomen. Li Cang folds over, blood spraying from his mouth. The pain doesn't fade, it deepens. He collapses to one knee, clutching his stomach, whispering that it hurts far too much. Inside the divine realm, the world is dying with him. The red creature crashes through the landscape like a living calamity. Mountains split beneath its fists. The ground fractures. Space groans under the pressure of its existence. Every strike sends backlash through Li Cang's body, convulsing him in both worlds at once. This isn't an evil spirit, it's a demon. The realization hits like impact. Li Cang forces himself upright inside the realm, authority sharpening his voice as he commands the earth to rise and bind. The ground answers instantly. A mountain spear erupts beneath the demon's feet to trap it, and shatters. The demon breaks through the stone with raw force alone. Li Cang doesn't retreat. If brute strength is all it has, he'll bury it in something stronger. Fire surges. A ridge reshapes into a screaming volcano. Lava rockets upward, raining hellfire down in ruthless detonations. He reminds himself that outside this world he may be weak, but here, his word is reality. The demon screams inside the inferno. When the smoke clears, it's still standing. Lai exhales sharply, irritation flickering. Its resilience is stupid, but at least the attacks are landing. He raises both arms. Ice and fire answer together. The realm bends. The world flips. Rivers flash freeze while mountains ignite and steam away. Moisture is torn from every corner of the dimension, collapsing upward into a colossal sphere of glacial ruin above the land. Li slams his palms down. The frozen mass crashes into the realm floor, shockwaves eating valleys whole. When the world finally stills, the dimension has become an endless, silent, icy sea. Stillness. Then, the demon rises again, barely upright, its body smaller, its aura thinner, but still breathing, still alive. Li Cang narrows his eyes. Good. If it can bleed, it can die. A grinding sound bulldozes the silence outside the realm. Li Cang's body freezes. The sky darkens further. Red lightning crawls across the storm clouds like something sentient is waking inside the thunder itself. Li Cang opens his eyes slowly, wincing, as the stomach pain echoes again in his body. Whatever happens inside the realm happens to him outside too. He exhales, staring upward. He can feel it. Something is about to happen. He whispers under his breath that he'll go home first and finish this demon later. The clouds split. Red lightning detonates downward. Li Cang doesn't even get to blink before a shadow lands behind him. A young man rises through the haze, coat snapping in the wind, lightning alive across his arms like wrath given physical form. A cultivator. Li Cang jerks back, instinct screaming before thought does. Stop! Lightning flares, sealing off his escape path instantly. Panic spikes as Li raises his hands, blurting that there must be a mistake, that he's just a student who finished the Divine Path exam, that this is insanity. The man studies him coldly. He introduces himself as Yuan Wanming, an admissions officer from the Central Land Divine University. Then he tells Li Cang to hand over the red evil spirit. In exchange, he guarantees special admission. Li Cang's heart slams against his ribs. The offer is everything he's ever wanted, but his divine realm is still shuddering, still breaking, and no one can ever know it exists. So he lies. He points into the distance, claiming the spirit fled that way. Yuan Wanming watches him in silence, then sighs. Not in frustration, but in disappointment, like a teacher watching a dull student refuse an obvious answer. So you chose the hard way. His voice carries no anger. Lightning gathers at his fingers. He mutters the skill's name softly, like a fact the sky already memorized. Thunder Surge. Another bolt slams into Li Cang's back. Li Cang crashes forward, coughing blood, nerves on fire, screaming that this is assault, that he's breaking the law. Yuan Wanming doesn't answer. He doesn't flinch. He only tightens his grip, another strike loading in the air. Li Cang's voice cracks as he insists again that the spirit isn't on him, that he doesn't know where it went, that this man must actually be insane. The thought twists violently through him. Is this guy actually a psycho? The next strike is about to fall, when a single crimson petal drifts between them. It floats through the lightning like a question mark. The storm can't burn away. Another petal appears, then another, then hundreds. A storm of red blossoms floods the park, soft, gorgeous, wrong. Yuan Wanming's lightning lashes outward in rage, clearing a path through the petals as he demands to know who it is. The sky erupts into light. Chuniro, the cultivator of the goddess of blessings. She lands lightly, eyes calm, presence bending the stealth into hesitation. She looks to Li Cang first. Are you all right? Li Cang stares, stunned, breathless, recognizing her instantly. The same girl he once saw at the school gate, except now her blessing isn't a concept. It's a force. Then another silhouette descends through the petals, aura bending the storm into a stage it didn't ask for. Yu Qianqian steps fully into view. She lands beside Li Cang. I never expected a senior cultivator to harm a fellow student, she says, voice sharpened by contempt. Then the question falls like judgment. Which school are you even from? She turns to Li Cang, telling him to speak, to explain, to justify the chaos clinging to his breath. Li Cang straightens, slow, deliberate. He's trembling, but he delivers the lie anyway, that Yuan Wanming approached him without warning, that he claimed a red evil spirit was on him, that he attacked without evidence, without reason, without restraint. Chuniro's gaze tightens like a knot pulled too fast. A red evil spirit? On you? The disbelief is small, but sharp. Her instincts hum behind her eyes. A memory flickers, something about a report, a mission, a person matching his description. But the pieces refuse to fit cleanly. Li Cang nods again, fast, almost eager. He can't afford cracks in the story now. He says he's sure. It's not on him. But inside his mind, the truth is louder than any storm outside it. His divine realm is still shaking, still breaking, still hiding a demon's fists punching through its bones. So he lies. Just this once. Yu Qianxian confronts Yuan Wanming, furious that a high-level evil spirit could ever be captured by someone who just finished a high school entrance exam. The insult feels personal. When Yuan doesn't even look at her and ignores her completely, shock freezes her mind. He actually blanked her existence. Her pride can't survive that level of disrespect. She orders her friend Chuniro to boost her. Chun responds instantly with a gentle rainbow spiritual art that wraps around Yu's aura. But something is wrong. Yuan's power doesn't calm down. It keeps climbing. Yu steps forward anyway, petals swirling around her like a declaration of war. Convinced the boost makes her untouchable. She unleashes Flower Burial, a massive wave of crimson petals aimed straight at Yuan. He stands still, unbothered, wrapped in roaring golden lightning, and raises a hand, calling his counter a simple skill: thunder bombs. Lightning spheres explode outward, detonating on Yu and blasting Chun off her feet in the shockwave. Li Cang sprints in and catches Chun in his arms as both girls crash, stunned at how effortlessly they were overpowered. Yuan turns his glare on Li. He doesn't care for explanations. He claims he'll determine the spirit's present self, even if he must kill Li to confirm it. Li realizes instantly. In a normal fight, he's dead. His only possible escape is pulling Yuan into his divine realm, a gamble that could cost them both their lives. Before the strike lands, the sky distorts into a colossal eye, a demigod guardian projection glowing gold and electric red. The guardian accuses Yuan of violating cultivator law and bullying the weak. Yuan reins in his temper and finally introduces himself. Admissions officer from the Divine University of the Central Land, the top cultivation institution in the entire nation, the forge of nearly every genius. He told Li Cang he would receive the finest cultivation resources during his studies. He would arrange an elite team of instructors to craft a personalized divine path for him. These were rights even most officers couldn't grant, but Yuan Wanming could. And then he drew the final line. This generosity hinged on one thing. He asked Li Cang one last time if he would hand over the evil spirit. Li Cang wrestled with the weight of the offer. Turning it down meant only one thing: making Yuan Wanming his enemy. But the decision had already been forced upon him. Yuan Wanming's expression cooled, accepting his silence as his final stance. Lightning curled around his palm as he moved at lightning speed through the clouds. His voice echoed as he told Li Cang through silent glare that tonight's choice was acknowledged, and that he hoped Li Cang would not regret it. Li Cang tore through the night like a man fleeing death itself, but inside his chest another truth churned. He wasn't running because he wanted to. His divine realm felt like it was cracking apart, barely holding together after the strain of the encounter. As he got home, he muttered to himself, then instantly collapsed to the floor as another pulse ruptured through his divine realm. He quickly went in and he opened his eyes, not in his apartment, but in the vast, barren expanse of his inner world, the divine realm made manifest. Inside his inner world, he found the red beast standing beneath the only tree in the entire realm, claws snapping the trunk in half like it was nothing. That snapped tree ignited rage, and he used the tree branches to trap the demon. When the dust settled, he stared at the bound creature in disbelief. It wasn't an ordinary evil spirit by any means. Its presence alone felt chaotic, ancient, wrong. Li Cang folded his arms, thinking hard. Nothing Nothing seemed to kill it. Not water, not fire, not stone. Each method he tried flickered through his mind and died. He stood there in deep contemplation, wondering how he was supposed to solve this. Then a spark lit inside him. He remembered Yuan Wanming. He extends his palms and summons lightning, ready to test the only theory left. If thunder is the key, then he'll become the storm himself. Lightning swallowed the divine realm as Li Cang pulled every spark of thunder into his palms. The sky split above him, a white-hot pillar of electricity spearing down as he raised both hands. Arcs wrapped his arms, crawling over his shoulders like living serpents. The ground cracked under the rising pressure, but his breath steadied. Focus sharpened. Fear didn't even get the courtesy of existing. He dropped into a braced stance and screamed for the monster to take it. Take it, you red bastard! The realm erupted. A colossal blast of blue-white radiance detonated downward. The evil spirit's silhouette vanished instantly inside the surge. Dust blasted outward in a violent circular wave. When the light faded, the creature lay crumpled far off, shriveled to nothing, no bigger than a marble. Li stared, stunned it actually worked, and lifted his palm again. One final flash of blue hammered down. The creature quivered, then dissolved into weak, quiet motes of red energy. The fragments didn't fade. They condensed, swirling into a core-shaped crystal threaded with faint lightning veins. It hovered ominously, shimmering with foreign potential. Li narrowed his eyes and stepped forward. "What the hell are you?" he muttered. The moment his fingers brushed it, the crystal snapped awake like a trap engineered to ruin destinies. Red tendrils locked his arm, tightening instantly. A burning sensation tore his nerves as red lightning crawled upward in jagged, glowing lines. "What's happening to me?" he barked, breath choking under the pain. No answer came. The power burst outward anyway, slamming into a distant boulder. The rock exploded into a smoking crater. Li froze, staring at the destruction. "Did I really just do that?" he whispered. Electricity still flickered across his fingers, red now instead of blue. Inside his mind, the crystal hovered again, humming faintly. Not a spirit anymore, but a source. A gate. An attribute waiting to be claimed. He blinked, realization crawling slower than lightning but heavier than thunder. He opened his eyes in his apartment. The red lightning was still there. He lifted his palm. It sparked back to life, quiet, controlled, terrifying in its patience. "Unbelievable," he muttered. "It's alive." The lesson finally connected. Divine paths must match their divinity. Elemental gods were the rarest myth. Multi-attribute cultivators were legends. And he had just awakened one by touching something he didn't understand, like signing a contract in blood he never read. But if he could manipulate thunder now, truly manipulate it, then the path tied to that element was no longer forbidden to him. It was waiting. Red lightning climbed his arms again as he straightened his back, breathing deep. This time, it didn't fracture the air. It acknowledged him. He said it aloud, embracing the verdict fully, like thunder accepting a new air. "I can select the divine path of thunder." High above the city, Jiang Yang, an admissions officer from Divine University, gliding casually through the clouds. Coat fluttering, posture relaxed. He's literally talking to himself, amused, saying the weather forecast promised clear skies. No thunder, no lightning, nothing that could interfere with his trip to recruit students. And then reality corrects him. Out of a perfect blue sky, lightning detonates around his body, forming a blinding sphere of crackling electricity. The man who was just joking about weather is now screaming as his body convulses midair, completely trapped inside the storm, before he drops like a burning comet toward the city below. On the street, a reporter is in the middle of a live broadcast, announcing that citizens across Changming have been reporting strange thunderstorms and lightning strikes. He adds that several cultivators were injured, but before he can finish, a violent crash echoes behind him. The camera swings around just in time to catch Zhang Yang's broken body on the pavement. The reporter swallows and delivers the final update. Every injured and dead cultivator today was an admissions officer who came to Changming City to recruit students. This was no natural disaster. This was a hunt. Under a sky boiling with black clouds, Yuan Wanming sits calmly, lightning crawling around him like obedient snakes. His servant Liu Shi rushes up, shaken, reporting that Yuan has already driven away 3 admissions officers from Changming. He finally dares to ask if this is all because of that boy, Li Cang, and whether Yuan should have captured him when he had the chance. Yuan shuts him down with a cold stare. Yes, it's because of Li Cang. No, he won't capture him. Instead, Yuan explains something far more cruel. There is a massive difference between special admission and general admission. Special students are protected, fast-tracked, and insulated from danger. Ordinary students are not. So Yuan deliberately kept admissions officers away from Changming. If Li Cang can't be selected as a special student, he'll be forced into the general route instead. And with Li Cang's grades, there's only one place he'll go anyway. Zhangzhou God's Way University, Yuan's domain. By controlling the system, Yuan is controlling fate itself. Red lightning coils around his hand as he promises to show Li Cang the price of rebellion until Liu Shi interrupts again, holding up a black token marked special recall. The headmaster has summoned Yuan back immediately. Yuan leaves, but one admissions officer still remains in Changming. He doesn't care. Li Cang will choose Zhangzhou. The storm erupts again. Black and red lightning tears through Changming's skyline, smashing buildings and throwing up walls of smoke. When the chaos clears, Li Cang lands on one knee in the street, staring at his hands in shock and excitement. He just proved that shocking his own meridians with lightning massively boosts his speed. He thought about it last night. Today he tested it. It worked. Unfortunately, so did the publicity. People recognize him instantly. Reporters rush in, cameras flash. They demand to know if he's been hiding his strength all through high school, how it feels to be a divine walker, and which God's Way University he plans to choose. Li Cang is overwhelmed, barely understanding why they're even here, until the screen turns on. Top of Changming City, cultural score 610, divinity score 700, total 1310. He didn't just pass, he ranked first. Jealous eyes flare nearby. Liang Kun dismisses it. Gao Ming asks when Li Cang became this strong. Before it turns ugly, a teacher pulls Li Cang away and rushes him to the headmaster's office. Inside, the staff is panicking, whispering about whether they offended Liu Gong. But when Li Cang enters, the headmaster smiles warmly and congratulates him. It's about admissions. With his scores, they must help him choose a university. Then the tone darkens. Most admissions officers were struck by lightning while entering Changming. The city is surrounded by a storm zone, but it was never supposed to kill cultivators. This year, something went wrong, and it might ruin Li Cang's future. Except two officers arrived early, Hanhai University and Zhongzhou God's Way University, the best in the nation. Li Cang relaxes until he hears the name again and freezes. The Zhongzhou admissions officer is Yuan Wanming, the lightning, the deaths, the timing, Yuan's threat. It all clicks, and Li Cang finally understands the nightmare built just for him. His fear ignites into rage, exploding through the campus as he shouts, "Yuan Wanming, you're a damn monster!" Inside the school building, the director explains that the situation is serious, which instantly sends Li Cang's mind into panic. For one horrifying second, he thinks this means his entire future is gone, that he won't be able to attend any university at all. The director laughs softly and waves that fear away, telling him to relax and follow him. There's already an admissions officer waiting. As they walk, the director explains the truth. Even without special admissions, Li Cang can still enter a good university as long as his scores are high enough. What he loses isn't opportunity. It's privilege, the protection, the resources, the safety net that special students receive. Li Cang nods, but inside, his worry deepens. Without special treatment, how is he supposed to afford cultivation, tuition, or survival in the divine world? They stop at a door. Inside, a young woman greets him by name, smiling warmly. Li Cang freezes when he recognizes her. She's the student from yesterday. She confirms it and reveals her true purpose. She came to recruit him to Hanhai University. Free tuition, a comfortable life, a direct invitation. Li Cang's thoughts immediately jump to Yuan Wanming. Zhongzhou God's Way University has far more power, more resources, more protection. If he chooses a weaker school, how will he ever become strong enough to defend himself? Behind him, the teacher and headmaster are stunned by how lucky he is, but Li Cang barely understands what they're so excited about. When the woman offers 3 days of soaking in divine water, he actually looks unimpressed, wondering how that's supposed to matter, so she raises the stakes. 100 divine coins per month. The adults behind him nearly lose their minds. That amount is insane. But Li Cang stays oddly calm, muttering that it wouldn't buy much anyway. The woman patiently explains that divine coins contain divine power, and each one is worth 10,000 yuan, 100 coins, 1 million yuan. The realization finally hits him, but even then he doesn't bite. Money isn't what scares him, so he turns to the director and asks to hear the terms from the other admissions officer. The director hesitates, then admits the name, Yuan Wanming. The pressure crushes down on Li Cang all at once. He rubs his head, cursing fate for letting that man stand in his path again. The teacher notices his distress, but Li Cang brushes it off and asks the director for advice. The director adjusts his glasses and says quietly that although he can't decide for him, he personally recommends Hanhai University. Not because it's stronger, but because it's closer. China is vast, he explains, and those who leave Hangzhou rarely return. Their city has grown weak. They need powerful people to stay and protect it. it. Those words hit Li Cang hard. Hangzhou isn't just a place. It's his second home. It's where he survived, where two sisters helped him when no one else did. He lifts his head. He's made his decision. The woman tenses, ready for rejection. But Li Cang extends his hand and chooses Hanhai University. Her eyes light up. She promises he won't regret it, explaining that Hanhai's lower ranking is only because it was founded later. She summons a glowing letter of acceptance, forged by the gods themselves, impossible to copy. It's official. Outside the school gates, Li Cang studies the divine letter in his hands, amazed by how real it feels. A woman notices it and congratulates him, asking to touch it. She says her son studies here too. She's just happy for him. Li Cang hands it over without thinking, and that's when everything breaks. The woman suddenly grips his wrist, yanks him forward, and slams her palm into his chest. The force sends him flying across the street, skidding to a brutal stop as pain explodes through his body. He looks up, stunned. The woman's face has twisted into something monstrous as a terrifying aura erupts from her body, and she shouts her devotion to the glory of the gods. 1,000 years ago, a wormhole tore open above this world, and deities from other realms poured through it, trying to erase humanity entirely. Humans were nearly wiped out until the gods of this world, empowered by human faith, finally drove the invaders back. But something ugly stayed behind. Some humans never stopped worshipping those otherworldly beings. They prayed for their return. They wanted the apocalypse. They are called what they are: demon worshippers, and one of them is standing in front of Li Cang wearing the face of a harmless ant. He's mid-step when he notices her body moving wrong, too tight, too coiled, like a weapon pretending to be flesh. He squints and bluntly asks what's wrong with her. She answers by launching at him. Death to the damned genius. Li Cang's eyes go cold. He calls down lightning, and a violent bolt slams into her, cooking her so badly the air itself warps. But even as her body breaks apart, she keeps chanting like a lunatic. For the glory of the Lord God! She charges again. Li Cang barely dodges, her fist smashing into a street lamp and getting stuck. That 1 second of immobility is all he needs. Heat and lightning gather in his palms, golden red energy compressing into a dense sphere like a star being forced into a fist. His face isn't heroic, it's irritated. He fires. The blast tears across the pavement, obliterating everything in its path, and a severed hand lands among the horrified onlookers. Panic detonates. People run, scream, vanish. But the nightmare isn't done. Another cultist steps out, grinning, repeating the same sick chant as he charges with a blade. For the glory of the Lord God. Li Cang doesn't even have time to turn. The knife is already coming. Li Cang! A blur crashes into the scene. Chuniro drops from above like gravity doesn't apply to her, slamming the attacker into the ground with a clean, brutal save. She snaps hey like she's scolding a misbehaving child, then turns to Li Cang. Are you all right? His brain buffers. Sister, what are you doing here? Before they can breathe, guards flood the street. The captain barks orders, scolding Li Cang for fighting in public, until a guard shouts the truth. They had divine auras, demon worshippers. Their bodies were strengthened by otherworldly power. The captain freezes. Chuniro steps forward, her voice ice cold. If anything happens to him, none of you Changming people will escape. The captain bows immediately, apologizing for failing to detect cultists. Chuniro then looks at Li Cang with new eyes. She admits she didn't expect him to defeat a fanatic empowered by divine power, and she notices the real miracle. His lightning isn't normal, it's golden red. A thunder variant so rare it's practically myth. Li Cang exhales and asks the only question that matters. Does Hanhai University have a thunder god path? Her confidence snaps into place. Not only do they have it, they have a Thor professor selected for the National Thousand Talents program. Li Cang relaxes. With a mentor like that, his future just opened up. She praises him openly, calls him unmatched in Changming, and urges him to leave for Hanhai immediately before more danger comes. I don't even have luggage, he says. I'll call you tomorrow, she smiles. Guards promise to stay to protect him overnight. Li Cang thanks them, not knowing that someone is still watching. Night finally settles over Changming. When everything seems calm, they withdraw, leaving him alone with the echo of everything that happened today. Back in his room, Li Cang sits cross-legged on the bed, spine straight, breathing slow. The adrenaline drains away, replaced by analysis. The fight replay loops in his mind. Every dodge, every strike, every near miss. Martial artists are terrifying up close. If he runs into someone like that again, brute force won't save him. He can't let anyone close. And worse, his attack speed was too slow. His demonic lightning symbol took far too long to charge, and the blast drained a frightening amount of power from his divine realm. That kind of output will burn him out fast. He stares at his palm, frustrated. If only there were a better way to increase the energy inside his divine realm. Sunlight pours through the window. His eyes narrow. Sunlight. He raises his hand toward the glow and wonders if solar energy itself can be used as fuel. The world flips. Inside the divine realm, heat surges. The sky glows white hot. Lava begins raining from above, smashing smashing into the scorched land in rivers of molten light. Li Cang reacts instantly. This is enough. He starts dissolving the lava bit by bit, absorbing the raw heat it releases. Last time, solar absorption was slow. This time, he cheats. Time bends. 200 years pass in a blink. The lava thins. Another 200. The heat weakens further, sunlight pouring in and being absorbed at an incredible rate. From above, the divine realm looks completely different now. One side remains scorched, but the other has been reduced to a burning mountain, the land forever altered by the process. Then something shines on top of a mountain. Li Cang notices a strange glow in the distance. Floating above the mountain is a massive egg, its surface covered in radiant patterns, pulsing gently with warmth. He stares at it, stunned. An egg, inside my world, cracks spread across the shell. Light explodes outward, and out tumbles a tiny, round kitten. For a moment, Li Cang just stands there, completely blank. Then emotion crashes in all at once. He grabs the kitten, laughing in disbelief, holding it close like he's afraid it might disappear. This is the first life born in his divine realm. The kitten meows happily. He lifts it up with ridiculous seriousness. From today onward, you shall be called Yan Yan. Yan Yan meows back, proud and loud. Before he can say anything else, the kitten suddenly leaps from his arms. Golden light bursts around its body. A sheep forms, a chick, then another animal, and another. Life is being woven out of pure energy. Li Cang's eyes go wide. Yan Yan isn't just alive, it's a creator. He laughs, shaking his head. Fine, I'll handle the world. You handle the life. Yan Yan meows smugly. Back in the real world, Li Cang opens his eyes, stretching as if he just woke from a long dream. His stomach growls. Divine realms are great, but hunger is still hunger. Outside, evening settles over Changming. The streets glow with soft light and laughter echoes from a nearby playground. Then he sees her. A small girl sits under a tree, hugging her knees, watching the world pass her by. She looks up. Brother Li Cang! He already knows that look. Another lonely day, another fight she doesn't want to talk about. He walks over and gently pats her head, promising her a big dinner. She worries about money. He grins. Who said anything about money? She hesitates, then smiles. As they walk together, she asks if it's going to be instant noodles again. Li Cang scoffs. Real noodles this time. And beneath the glowing evening sky, they head off together. Li Cang walks into the tiny noodle shop like the universe hasn't already tried to crush him today. He throws his arm up, grinning, calling out for Uncle Liu as if this is just another lazy night, ordering 2 bowls like nothing in the world is wrong. Uncle Liu looks up, recognition snapping into place, half amused, half annoyed. He blurts out that it's been almost 2 years since Li Cang last ate here, and that this kid still dares to show up asking for noodles. Li Cang laughs, saying he just finished his entrance exams, sliding back into the booth like he never left. Then he casually adds the order: 1 vegetarian, 1 steak. Uncle Liu's face hardens immediately. Nostalgia doesn't pay debts. He reminds Li Cang that he didn't even pay the last time he ate here. Li Cang scratches his head, shameless, promising that this time he'll definitely pay. Only then does he turn to the little girl sitting across from him. His voice softens. He tells her she doesn't have to keep things bottled up. She hesitates, then quietly says it. Her mom is pregnant. Everything clicks. He understands why she's been so distant. He tries to comfort her, saying maybe it won't be so bad that she'll have someone to grow up with. But when she starts talking, she can't stop. Her dad says she's a waste of money. Her mom is always busy. No one plays with her anymore. She's scared that when the baby comes, she'll be thrown away. Steam rises from the noodle bowls as Uncle Liu sets them down like a fragile piece between them. She finally says it, that she feels like nobody in the world cares about her. Li Cang reaches over and rests his palm on her head, stopping her spiral cold. He looks at her seriously and tells her she's wrong. He says he cares, and he promises he always will. Her face breaks. She starts crying hard, ugly, like she's been holding it in for too long. He panics and offers her milk tea just to make her stop. Night falls. Streetlights glow blue. She walks close to him, afraid of being left behind, and quietly asks if she can stay at his place tonight. He agrees instantly. They don't notice the men watching from the shadows. A suited figure whispers orders. An executioner steps forward. They decide to let Li Cang keep playing his role, otherwise the rats won't bite. When Li Cang gets home, the power is out. Darkness swallows the house. Cracks echo. Footsteps scrape. Sumoxin stiffens in fear. A knock slams against the door. She moves to open it. Li Cang shouts for her to stop. Too late. The door explodes inward. A man charges in and sends her flying. A knife flashes. She screams. Li Cang moves instantly, yanking her out of the way as lightning curls around his palm. Masked attackers flood the room. Kill the heretic! Red gold lightning tears through them, bodies dropping like broken puppets until the bald man strikes. A chain whips past Li Cang and wraps around Sumoxin. She's ripped away, screaming his name. The truth hits like ice. She was the target all along. The bald man locks her in place, chain biting into her throat, grinning. Surrender, he says, or she dies. seconds. Li Cang is barely standing still when more men surge in from the shadows, voices overlapping, weapons flashing, confidence fueled by ignorance. One of them recognizes him instantly, barking out his name like that alone gives him power. Another sneers, calling him the famous student genius. One of them snaps and lunges. Li Cang doesn't flinch. He twists aside with barely a shift of his shoulders, and in that same breath, his aura explodes outward. Red gold lightning crawls across his body. Behind them, the bald man tightens his grip on Sumoxin, his thick arm locked around her throat. He shouts that if Li Cang moves even a step, the girl dies. Li Cang turns his head slowly, just enough to let the man see his eyes. There is no panic there, only disgust. Let her go, he says, his voice cold enough to cut. The knife wielder charges again, trying to force Li Cang's hand. But Li Cang steps in, snaps his arm up, and the exchange is over almost before it begins. The attacker is sent flying, crashing into the wall with a broken cry, the fight knocked out of him in a single brutal motion. The bald man screams for Li Cang to stop. That's when Sumoxin bites him. Her teeth sink into his arm so hard he shrieks, instinctively loosening his grip. In that split second, she tears free. Li Cang is already moving. He snatches the fallen knife, shouts for her to get down, and hurls the blade with everything he has. It punches straight into the bald man's chest. The man staggers, choking, disbelief finally flooding his face. Around him, his subordinates panic. Someone yells for the boss. Another shouts for everyone to rush together. The room dissolves into chaos. At the same time, outside, the so-called protection team is failing in a different way. An urgent warning crackles through the comms, alerting A-Team that heretics are near the target. The response comes back calm, almost lazy, insisting there's nothing unusual in the area. Someone immediately presses for the source of the intel, and the explanation follows. B-Team caught a lookout nearby who confessed after interrogation. The reassurance doesn't land. Another voice cuts in, calling it fake intel and ordering everyone to stay alert. The target was acting completely normal. Then everything breaks. There's impact. A huge explosion rips through the atmosphere, catching everyone by surprise. One man stares in disbelief, unable to understand how this is possible. Another voices the same shock, realizing too late that someone has already slipped through their net. Men cough and stumble in the dark as lights cut through the night. Then a flash, small, fast. The executioner dodges a knife that was headed for his throat by a hair's breadth. When he looks up, he sees bodies everywhere, some burned, some torn apart. Then a voice roars through the smoke. Don't come any closer. Li Cang stands in the center of a storm of lightning, Sumoxin at his side, eyes blazing, ready to erase anyone who moves wrong. The approaching men raise their hands, shouting that they're security guards. Li Cang doesn't relax. His gaze sharpens as the truth clicks into place. He demands to know why they weren't outside doing their job, why they weren't protecting him. He accuses them of trying to kill him the moment he lowers his guard. The executioner explains they never expected the attackers to slip through. Then the captain steps forward. Clean uniform, calm eyes. He apologizes stiffly and finally admits the truth. Li Cang was never told about the operation for special reasons. They weren't there to protect him. They were there to catch the heretics. The realization hits like ice. He was the bait. The captain starts issuing cleanup orders like this is routine. Li Cang cuts him off. He acknowledges the brutal truth of the world, that ordinary lives mean nothing here, but demands to know if the captain feels even a trace of guilt for putting people at risk like this. The answer is cold and procedural. Ordinary people are rewarded for meritorious service. Then the conversation pivots to money, as if compensation can rewrite morality. The captain explains that the heretics were killed, and by the rules, Li Cang is entitled to a reward. 10,000 yuan, plus a bonus. Li Cang stares at him like he's being handed loose change after surviving hell. He flat out tells him he doesn't care about the money, and if he doesn't explain well, this ends on the news. Someone tries to interject. The captain shifts into calm, reasonable mode, claiming he understands Li Cang's emotions. The captain finally reveals the hook. According to his investigation, Li Cang's father borrowed a large sum of money before leaving, plunging the family into debt. The government will repay it. On top of that, Li Cang will receive another 100,000 yuan. Li Cang freezes, repeating the number under his breath. The captain keeps stacking the offer. The damaged house will be restored and properly furnished. All of it so Li Cang can go to university and study in peace. Li Cang starts sweating, not from the fight, but from the pressure. He didn't want to take this, but the price they're offering is crushingly high. He interrupts, asking to wait. The captain responds like this is customer service, asking if there are any other requests. Li Cang hesitates, explains his university enrollment starts the day after tomorrow, mentions the money again. The answer comes instantly. It'll be there before he arrives. Li Cang finally exhales, the sound heavy and tired. He admits out loud that tonight terrified him, but at least he earned something from it. That's when the real fallout hits. Sumoxin has been watching everything, and her fear isn't about heretics anymore. It's about losing the one person who made her feel safe. Li Cang turns to her, calling her name softly. She looks up, eyes shaking, and asks why he never told her he was going to university. Then she says the thing that hurts the most. He promised he'd stay with her. Guilt folds Li Cang's face inward. He apologizes, admitting he forgot that he never meant to hurt her. He gestures around at the ruined knight, explaining that he isn't safe here anymore. But he tries to reassure her, saying he'll have protection when he goes to God's Way University. She asks the question that shatters the comfort. What happens to her after he's gone? Li Cang doesn't dodge it. He asks for time. Then he makes a promise, firm and unpolished. When he graduates, when he has the power and position to take care of her, he'll take her away from that awful home. Her fear breaks into hope. She says she'll wait for him. She hugs him tightly like she's anchoring herself to that promise. Moments later, the subordinate questions whether giving Li Cang so much was necessary. The answer is dismissive. None of it is excessive for the government. Another question follows. Why use him as bait? The reply is blunt and ugly. Demon worshippers are unusually active this year. Extraordinary times require extraordinary measures. If they want to wipe them out, the divine wayfarer must be used as bait. Now that the mission is complete, they won't cross paths with that student again. A tired sigh follows. The captain looks out over the city, the lights, the buildings, the quiet lives beneath it all. He reflects that this is Li Cang's old home, and one day, when he finishes his studies, everyone will have to look at him with respect. After all, this is their world, and in it, the only value an ordinary person has is what they can contribute to the divine cultivators. Numbers fall in a room where human lives are nothing more than tallies. East China, 80 successful kills. South China, 101. North China, 21. West China, 7. Each report lands without emotion, like a clerk stamping paperwork. No cheering, no mourning, just confirmation that another wave of Earth's future gods has been erased. The camera pulls back to reveal where these numbers are being read. A vast golden hall, polished to perfection, serene to the point of cruelty. At its center, a pool glows softly, steam rising, and reclining within it is something that should not exist. A devil with red skin, black smoke coiling off his head like living hair, sipping a drink as though genocide were background noise. A final conclusion is delivered, cold and proud in its efficiency. The best students in each province were basically eliminated, which must have surely weakened another wave of Earth's future reserve gods. There's a pause, a dangerous one. But a subordinate kneels at the edge of the pool, forehead to the floor. He doesn't dare look up. His voice shakes when he speaks. Please forgive me, Your Holiness. The one in Changming, in South China's Hanghai province, was not successfully killed. The subordinate steps forward, face hidden behind a sharp, angular mask. His voice is steadier. It is reasonable to say that a poor and weak place like Changming City should not have produced a very strong student, he says carefully. Then he bows his head. It's our fault for being so naive. The red-skinned devil doesn't explode. He doesn't even look angry. A soft sound slips from him instead, thoughtful, amused. Then he laughs. Not loudly, not wildly, a warm, ugly chuckle that echoes through the marble like something enjoying a private joke. The best student in Changming City, he murmurs. A bit interesting. His gaze drifts, not just past Li Cang, but beyond him, as if he's peeling layers off reality itself. Then something else slides into focus. Sumoxin. The smoky black aura coils around her image like a mark the universe itself has placed. The devil's eyes narrow just slightly. I even feel a hint of familiarity. He takes another slow sip, relaxed, entertained. Even if we leave her alone, he says softly, things will get interesting. Li Cang, a boy who shouldn't exist, who keeps surviving things meant to erase him. Sumoxin, a girl whose presence pings something ancient inside a demon who has lived far too long, in a world where every ordinary life is just bait for divine wars. Is Li Cang an anomaly or a necessary variable? Why does Sumoxin feel familiar to something that predates this era? What does the devil gain by waiting instead of killing? He already knows the answer. He's just letting the story ripen. And somewhere far below that golden hall, two small lives walk forward, completely unaware that they've just become the most interesting pieces on a board soaked in blood. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for part 3.